Welcome to the Talking Gun session on the Upriver Crawfish. I'm your host, Sankar. Today, on this session, Talking Guns, we'll be discussing the first 3 days of the operation to demilitar to de yeah disarm Ukraine. So on the 24th of February, Thursday the 24th of February, President Putin authorized Russian forces to launch special operations in Ukraine. The goal, as President Putin puts it, is to demilitarize and de-Nazify Ukraine. The operation began with airstrikes and artillery strikes, missile strikes with standoff weapons from that hit Ukrainian command and control centers all over the country and destroyed long-range anti-aircraft artilleries like the S-300 artilleries. So as you can see, all the areas where the Russian standoff weapons hit. That was the beginning of the assault. Then the ground, once the Russians had total control of the airspace, then the ground war began. One of the most interesting thing in the first day of the battle was an airborne assault that the Russians launched. The Russians launched the airborne assault in the heart of Kiev at the Antonov Airport at Gostomel. The Russians sent the VDV troops, that's Russian airborne troops, who did a vertical envelopment into Gostomel and seized the Gostomel airport. I mean, that was a very interesting and daring operation. One of the things that allowed it to be possible, though, were the assaults from the south, from the east, the northeast, and the north. Ground assaults from those areas. The troops at Gostomel, an interesting situation happened when a CNN crew happened upon them, thinking they were Ukrainians, because Gostomel is 20 miles from 20 miles from the city center of Kiev. It's actually in Kiev, but it's from 20 miles from the city center in Kiev. And the CNN guy had, I think Matthew Chance was his name. He had come across them thinking they were Ukrainians, and he asked them, "So who is in control of this place?" He said the Russians. He said, "But where are the Russians?" And the commander of the VDV troops on the ground said, "We are the Russians." And he showed him his badge. So that was an interesting one. But those forces held Gostomel for 24 hours and beat back all the Ukrainian counteroffensive until a column coming from the north in Belarus and met up and de-blocked them. All right. Other areas that ground forces attacked in the first day was from the south, from Crimea over the Kherson Bridge and into Kherson. You can see there's another video also with the Russian column on the bridge, crossing the bridge, and they're taking fire, but they're still moving. The Russian also developed an assault from Crimea that seized Melitopol and going through to Zaporizhia and going to Dnipro. In the meantime, the forces from the LDPR are pushing to seize Mariupol and pushing to seize the rest of seize the rest of Donetsk and the Lugansk area. So they were reports have it that they have close to Volnovaka to seize that area. Uh, Other forces came down from the north. They seized Sumy. They're fighting for Kharkiv. There's a report that on day 2 and day 3, the forces in Kharkiv have put up a strong resistance. So that part, that area, the Russians, I think they, from my understanding, is that they took some casualties in there because the Russians trying not to attack the Ukrainian army and at the same time also trying not to attack the civilians. They don't want to attack the main Ukrainian army. They want to attack the Nazi battalions. Those are the ones that they want to attack. But those guys took advantage of it and came and attacked the Russians from the back. So there were some casualties on day 2. Russians took Chernigov as well, and they took Chernobyl. Part of the reason they seized Chernobyl was so that the Ukrainians cannot do a false flag dirty bomb situation in there. And another interesting thing about them taking Chernobyl is that they and Ukrainian forces are the ones protecting it, side by side, protecting the sarcophagus in Chernobyl. The Russians, this operation that goes from the south to Melitopol, and then the development from the north, if those things happen, it can encircle the 60,000 troops that were Ukrainian troops that were posted on the border of the Donetsk Republic. And taking out 60,000 troops, putting them in a cauldron, in a Russian cauldron, that pretty much might render the Ukrainian military operational combat ineffective. So those are some of the things that happened in day 2. So in day 2, Chernobyl's seized. The in Kiev region also, besides Gostomel, the Russian forces were operating in the Oblast district of Kiev as well. So about 18 miles from the center of Kiev. The Russians also closing in on Kharkov, but that has been tough. As I stated earlier, the forces there are putting up resistance. There's report that the Russians did a landing at Odessa, but I don't know that to be true yet. I do know that at the island of Smyrny, somewhere around Odessa, the Russians took that island. 82 troops were there, and there's video going around where they said "F you" to the Russians, or in Russian they said "Billiet" to the Russians, and according to the Ukrainians, they all die. That's not true. The Russians captured all 82 of them, and they are now on their way back to their family. The Russians releasing them. Now in day 3, the Russians solidified the front. One of the things that happened is that there was an operational pause yesterday in day 2 because Zelensky had said that he came to his senses and wanted to talk neutrality. So the Russians thought he was serious. And until it's been reported that the Americans told him not to talk, to go to the talks. So he didn't go to the talks, and so the Russians today are going to resume the offensive. Now, they have now solidified the front line, and consolidated the front line. And as you can see, Kharkov is not captured yet. Chernigov is captured. You got Konotop. You got Sumy captured. You got Kherson still captured. There are reports that the Ukrainians pushed back the Russians at Kherson, but I haven't seen any proof of it. Usually the Ukrainians, if they did recapture Kherson, will put a lot on the on social media, because they are very good on the social media. If we were talking about social media alone, they will win. Now, the Russian forces will develop in this area. They will go to Zhytomyr so that they can block the west as well. From a Kiev perspective, they have, for the most part, almost cut off Kiev from the west and from the west side. So it could be tough if Zelensky doesn't leave pretty soon. But this how the Russians are looking to advance on Ukraine. They're going from the south here. They might go. They will go to see. They have seized Melitopol already. They will go to Zaporizhia, and then they will get to Dnipropetrovsk. The forces in this side here will come down, and from the north, as the LDPR forces will encircle whatever formations of Nazi battalions are in here. Now the Nazi battalions have a choice. They can, because this is a turning movement, they can either stay and fight and die, or they can pull out. This is also the same case around Mariupol. But the biggest stuff to look up for is the possibility of that whole 60,000 man formation being captured in a cauldron here. If they get captured in a cauldron, that would render Ukraine military almost combat ineffective, because 60,000 men is a lot to take off the battlefront. All right, so the Ukrainians did put up some resistance here. There's report that there were some Russian casualties. Whether it's true or not, at the end of the day, nobody is going to expect there not to be Russian casualties, because this is war. You mess with mud, you got to get some on your hands. That's just what happens. The thing is, Russians, they have stomach for casualties. They don't care. This is an existential threat to them, so they will remove the access. They will get rid of the threat that Ukraine poses to them. Now, what I think the overall goal of Russia here, based on what President Putin is saying, I think they're looking to sever the whole east of the Dnieper River. Russia, they will take that whole part out of Ukraine. They will also take the south, because those areas from the south here in Ukraine and everywhere along the east of the banks of the Dnieper River, those are actually Russian land that were only given to Ukraine because they were part of the Soviet Union. So Russia must seize that, probably put another government to rule that entity, maybe call that Novorossiya or whatever, and Ukraine will be left with just an agrarian society, only agriculture and stuff. They won't have any industrial capacity. They won't have access to the sea, and then the U.S. can take it and do what it wants. The U.S. and the West can take it. The Russians are not playing. They don't have time to mess around. This year, they have had enough. There's report that that Germany and France will now want to send some weapons and stuff. The thing is how they get it. They can't get it by air, because they put their planes there, they will get shut down. Russia already told them, anybody trying to help Ukraine will get hands. And so they might try to get it through to Lvov, from Poland, but if it gets there, they will just be destroyed. On day 3, the Russians, day 2 and 3, the Russians destroyed and seized a lot of Western weapons that they sent there. So, but this is how the fight is going right now. Let's watch it and see how things develop. Russians were taking heavy flamethrowers, the TOS-1 Buratino, were being sent to the front line. So I think Russia is about to take the gloves off and put a good smacking on these guys. Unfortunately, civilians might get caught there in the first fight, because these Nazi battalions are putting heavy weapons in city centers, in population centers. They're not acting like they're part of the Ukrainian government. That's something an insurgent army would do. Fine. If you're an insurgent army or terrorist or so, fine. But if you are the government of the country, you can't do that. Another development that has happened in Ukraine is that these idiots, incompetent pieces of crap, went and gave weapons to anybody on the street. It's not go- That's not effective. It ain't gonna do anything. But what that did do, they gave weapons to criminals, criminals who now killing their own people, stealing people's stuff. Furthermore, giving weapons to civilians who are not trained, they're attacking one another, saying that they think those people are saboteurs. There's a video with they capture one SBU, a member of the SBU. The police captured him and was beating him to crap. Turns out he's a member of the SBU. SBU is the Ukrainian Special Services. So they don't know who's who, and so they're shooting one another, causing chaos in there, in that country. They killed some people that were in trucks. They shot up one other truck with Ukrainian soldiers in it. There was one other video with uh, Ukrainian MRAP shooting at a air defense vehicle, and the air defense vehicle is armored, so it didn't do anything. But that's the situation going. There's chaos coming up in the country, right? Anyways, the Russians have had enough, and they're not playing. It's not going to be business as usual again. So people need to get out of their way. They will put a spanking on Ukraine. They would take out their abscess, those Nazi battalions, and the corrupt government. They would take them out. That's been it for today on the talking gun session. I will bring more talking gun sessions. This session was about day 1 to day 3. We'll bring more. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you.